There is a seat at the head of the most powerful boardroom in Zurich that has remained empty for 42 years. The name on the brass plaque belongs to a man who hasn't been photographed since 1984. He doesn't exist in the digital archives of the 21st century, and yet, when he sends a 3-word encrypted message from an undisclosed location in the Swiss Alps, global markets shift by 4% within the hour. Most people believe that power is about presence, about being the person who walks into the room and demands every eye. They are wrong. In the highest echelons of the invisible empire, power is not about presence, it is about strategic absence. It is the ability to be the most influential person in a conversation without ever physically entering the building. Welcome back to Quiet Wealth. If you followed our journey through the psychology of having nothing to prove and the tactical layers of the invisible empire, you understand that visibility is a tax and fame is a junk currency. But today, we are stepping out of the light entirely. We are moving beyond the mindset of not caring and into the tactical application of not being seen. We are talking about the families whose names haven't appeared in a newspaper since the 19th century, yet whose signatures control the flow of global energy. We are talking about individuals who have scrubbed their digital footprints so thoroughly that they have become ghosts in the machine. They aren't just hiding their money in offshore accounts, they are hiding their very existence from the public consciousness. In this deep dive, I am going to peel back the curtain on the architecture of the void. I will show you exactly why the real rich are disappearing from the public eye, why fame is now considered a low-tier currency for the desperate, and why your survival and your sovereignty in the next decade depends entirely on your ability to become a ghost. Think about this. Why would a man worth billions pay a boutique firm $500,000 just to delete his high school graduation photo from the internet? The answer is the first pillar of our strategy, the accessibility trap. We live in an era of hyper-connectivity that has morphed into a form of digital serfdom. You are expected to be reachable at all hours. Your clients expect a response in minutes. Your followers expect a window into your morning routine. The algorithm demands a daily sacrifice of your privacy just to keep your relevance alive. This is a trap designed for the middle class. The average person views being busy and reachable as signs of importance. They wear their cluttered calendars like a badge of honor. But in the realm of dark sovereignty, accessibility is a sign of weakness. If anyone can reach you, you have no value. If your time can be bought with a simple DM or a calendar link, you are not a master, you are a service provider. The elite understand that scarcity creates value, not just the scarcity of assets, but the scarcity of you. When you become a ghost in the machine, your rare appearances take on the weight of an oracle. You stop being a content creator or a hustler, and you become a variable of magnitude.
But here is the chilling reality. In a world where everyone is a glass house, the man in the stone fortress is king. Consider the case of a certain hedge fund manager who manages over $10 billion in assets. He has no LinkedIn. His company website is a single landing page with a login portal and no About Us section. To get a meeting with him, you don't call an office. You have to be recommended by one of 3 people he actually trusts. If you try to cold call his firm, you will be met with a receptionist who is trained to tell you that the firm does not exist for the public. This man isn't hiding because he's doing something illegal. He's hiding because privacy is a blue-chip asset. He knows that the moment he becomes visible, he becomes targetable. When you remain in the void, you deny the world information. Humans are biologically programmed to fear ambiguity, and in that fear, they project. When you are silent and absent, people do not see nothing. They see a reflection of their own insecurities or their own awe. This is psychological dominance through restraint. By not being there to explain yourself, you allow the world to build a myth around you. The man who is always explaining his moves is a man who is asking for permission. The man who stays in the shadows allows his results to do the screaming. What if I told you the most expensive garment in the world is designed to look like a $20 hoodie from a distance? This is the aesthetic of the void. In our first discussion, Nothing to Prove, we explored the concept of social arbitrage, the art of having significantly more power than people think you have. The architect of the void takes this a step further. They don't just blend in, they evaporate. They understand that every time you reveal a preference, a habit, or a location, you are handing over a piece of your autonomy. The truly established have moved beyond the need for signals. They don't need the logo-heavy tracksuit or the neon-wrapped car. They want the unbranded excellence, the vicuña coat that costs $20,000 but looks like a simple navy blue coat to anyone who doesn't know what they are looking at. This is high-frequency wealth. It operates on a wavelength that the average person literally cannot perceive. It is a secret language spoken through quality, not volume. In the hills of a certain European principality, there is a villa that appears from the road to be an abandoned farmhouse. It is overgrown with ivy, the stone is weathered, and there is no gate, just a dirt path. To a satellite or a passing tourist, it is worthless. But beneath that ordinary exterior is a $50 million smart fortress with its own atmospheric water generators and a direct fiber optic link to a private satellite array. The owner doesn't want a monument to his ego. He wants a fortress of sovereignty.
Here is the question that haunts the ambitious. Do you want the applause, or do you want the empire? You cannot have both. The modern world tells you to build a brand. They tell you that your face is your greatest asset. But what they don't tell you is that a brand is a target. When you build a life around your persona, you are tethering your wealth to the court of public opinion. You are one wrong statement, one canceled thought, or one algorithm shift away from insolvency. The shadow player finds the term influencer derogatory, a sign of a person who is working for the algorithm. The elite want to be the people who own the algorithm. They want the revenue, the data, and the control, but they don't want the face. They want the influencers to do the work and take the risks, while they collect the dividends in the dark. Last year, a major lifestyle brand was sold for $400 million. The face of the brand was a well-known media personality. He walked away with a respectable payout. But the holding company that bought him? It is owned by a man whose name has never appeared on a top 30 under 30 list. This man owns 14 other brands just like it. He has no followers. He has no brand. He has an empire. He understands that while the influencer is building a cage of expectations, he is building a vault of capital. To enter the invisible empire, you must implement the 3 tactical buffers of the void. First, the legal buffer. You do not own things. Your entities own things. You do not sign contracts. Your lawyers sign. You create a buffer of legal fiction between your physical body and your wealth. Second, the intellectual secrecy. You must develop the discipline to never talk about your next move until it is already 3 moves behind you. The moment you announce your plans to the world, you invite the world to stop them. Power is most effective when it is felt, not when it is announced. Third, the aesthetic of the void. This is the dark luxury we prioritize. It is an aesthetic that values depth, silence, and quality over flash and noise. It is the grainy film texture in a world of 4K oversaturation. It is the ability to sit in a room alone and be perfectly content, knowing that you are the master of an empire that the world will never see. There is a test the elite use to measure their level of invisible wealth. It's called the airport test. If you can walk through a major international terminal and have a single person recognize you, you have failed. If you can sit in a first-class lounge and be mistaken for a middle manager, you have won. You have gained the ultimate luxury, the ability to be misperceived. You allow people to underestimate you because your sense of self is anchored in something far deeper than public opinion. When you do not need the world to see you, you begin to see the world with terrifying clarity. True restraint is not a style, it is a state of the soul. It is being perfectly fine with the possibility that no one, not even the elite, realizes how successful or powerful you are. This level of detachment allows for a terrifyingly effective form of leverage. When you do not need the deal, when you do not need the promotion, and when you do not need the social invitation, you have all the power. You can walk away at any moment.
The person who is willing to walk away is the person who sets the terms. Most people are tethered to their desires and their fears, making them easy to manipulate. But the man who has nothing to prove is untethered. He is dangerous because he cannot be bought with flattery, and he cannot be intimidated by the threat of social exclusion. The elite operate on a different temporal plane. They understand that anything of true value takes time to build and even longer to mature. Having nothing to prove allows you to be patient. While your competitors are busy marketing themselves, you are deepening your foundations. By the time you emerge, you are so far ahead that competition is no longer a factor. The quiet life is not a small life. It is a focused life. It is the removal of the unnecessary noise that drains our cognitive resources. Every time you worry about your reputation, you are leaking energy. When you stop caring, that energy returns to you. You can use it to think more deeply and to live more intentionally.
Keeping things for yourself is an act of rebellion. There are experiences, thoughts, and achievements that should never be spoken of. Keeping them private gives them a sacred quality. When you achieve something significant and tell no one, you keep the full weight of that satisfaction. When you tell the world, you dissipate it. You trade the gold of internal achievement for the copper of public praise. Privacy is the ultimate status symbol. In an age of total surveillance and digital footprints, wealth is the ability to disappear. It is the unmarked estate. It is the encrypted conversation. It is the private move. The more powerful a person is, the less you generally know about them. They move the needle without ever touching the dial in public. This brings us back to psychological dominance through restraint. In any interaction, the person who speaks less and reveals less is the one who holds the cards. Humans are naturally uncomfortable with ambiguity. By remaining restrained, you deny people information. You become a mirror. They will project their own fears onto you, and in doing so, they will reveal everything about themselves. You do not have to dominate them. They will dominate themselves in an attempt to figure you out. This is the cold reality of luxury psychology. The strong do not need to be liked, they need to be respected, and respect is born from a combination of competence and mystery. If people know everything about you, they feel they have consumed you, but if you remain an enigma, you remain a force to be reckoned with. You are the variable they cannot account for. This requires a radical acceptance of the fleeting nature of status. The titles and social hierarchies are sandcastles waiting for the tide. The man who realizes this pursues excellence because excellence is its own reward. He builds wealth because wealth is a tool for freedom, not a scorecard for his ego. Failure is no longer a public humiliation, it is simply a data point. You can pivot and learn without the crushing weight of losing face. The quiet strategist is free to experiment. He can afford to look wrong for as long as it takes to be right. This leads to a state of flow that is inaccessible to the ego-driven. When you are not checking the sidelines to see who is watching, you can reach depths of concentration where the self disappears and only the task remains. This is where the most profound breakthroughs happen. Ironically, by not caring about the world's opinion, you produce the kind of work that the world cannot help but admire. But by then, their admiration is irrelevant to you. You have already moved on to the next challenge. Internal anchoring means being the same person in a palace as you are in a storm. True character is what remains when everything is stripped away. The man with nothing to prove has built a core that is independent of his circumstances. The goal of quiet wealth is not merely the accumulation of capital, but the accumulation of sovereignty. Sovereignty over your time, your thoughts, and your emotions. Most people are wealthy but remain slaves to their reputations and their lifestyles. They have a lot to prove, and therefore they are never truly free. It starts with the realization that you are already enough. If you truly believe you are enough, the entire market of status seeking collapses. You can no longer be manipulated by the fear of missing out. You become a closed system. You operate from a place of abundance rather than a place of lack. This does not mean you stop growing. On the contrary, you grow faster because you are no longer dragging the anchor of other people's expectations. You pursue the highest version of yourself because it is the most interesting thing to do with your life.
You seek out challenges to see for yourself what is possible. This is the silent, relentless pursuit of personal mastery. Imagine a life where you never have to justify a single choice, where you do not have to explain your path, defend your success, or apologize for your boundaries. You simply exist and create with a total, unshakable confidence. You are not the loudest person in the room. You are the one the loudest person is subconsciously trying to impress. You are the gravity that holds the room together.
the silent power that does not need to shout to be felt. This is the state of having nothing to prove. In the final analysis, it is the ultimate expression of power. It is the end of the war with yourself and the beginning of your true influence on the world. The noise of the world will continue. People will always be shouting and signaling. Let them. Your path is different. Your path is one of depth and internal clarity. When you walk into a room, carry no baggage of expectation. When you speak, let your words be few and weighted with intent. When you build, build for the ages, not for the headlines. Remember that the sun does not have to prove it is hot, and the ocean does not have to prove it is deep. They simply are. Quiet wealth is a choice you make every day. It is the choice to choose the internal over the external, and the real over the performative. It is a difficult path because it requires you to give up the immediate gratification of the ego. But the rewards are beyond anything the ego can imagine. You gain a peace that cannot be disturbed and a power that cannot be taken away. You become the master of your own narrative, the author of a story that does not need a reader to be a masterpiece. Go back into the world, but go back differently. Stay in your center. Keep your wins private. Keep your power silent. Because when you truly have nothing to prove, you finally have everything to gain. The silence is not empty. It is full of everything you have finally stopped giving away. This is quiet wealth. As we continue this journey, remember that every step you take towards being seen is a step away from being free. We've already covered why you have nothing to prove to the crowd. Now it's time to decide if you have the discipline to join the invisible empire. Do you want the applause or do you want the empire? You cannot have both. The invisible empire doesn't have a recruitment office. There is no application. You simply arrive. You arrive the moment you make the conscious choice to stop performing for a world that doesn't care about you. You arrive when you realize that silence is a weapon and privacy is a shield. If you're ready to leave the noise behind, to kill the ego, and to join the ranks of the shadow players, then you are in the right place. We have much more to discuss in the coming weeks. We are going to break down the mechanics of trust, the geography of privacy, and the philosophy of the ghost class. Choose privacy. Choose power. Stay quiet. Build your empire in the dark. Empire.